Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Today, let's look at the executive bill put forward by President Tinubu back in the day. And now it has scaled the first and second readings. And let's just talk about it. It concerns judicial officers' salaries and allowances, etc. Bill 2024. The last time that the salaries of judicial officers, most especially judges, were reviewed goes back to 17 years before now. Now, that's been quite a bit. And needless to say, it does seem ripe for, intervention. Okay, let's look at this, and we have two, judicial officers themselves. Lawyers. Let me just straight away before lawyers begin to query my terminology. They're lawyers, and so they are stakeholders. They are very interested in it. Good morning, Mr. Jide Ologun, lawyer and public affairs analyst.
Good morning, Uncle.
Our pleasure to have you once again. As much as it is to have Mr. Kabir Akingbolu, he is also a lawyer and political affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you.
It's a pleasure for having me on the program. Good morning, Nigeria.
Our pleasure. Now, let me start from you. It's a remarkable, is it not? It's a remarkable development.
Yes.
17 years, they were managing the salaries. When you look at them, when you look at the rate of the dollar.
But immediately it came here also, the quota or the required number of justices of the Supreme Court has never reached this maximum, which used to be, which is supposed to be 21. Mm-hmm. The highest they have had, I think, was 16, 17, and all that. So he increased it and filled all the vacuum. There are a lot of qualified people, justices at the Court of Appeal, but we wonder why they have not been elevated. And now, with this bill now, I think the justices and the judges of the High Court can smile, because if it affects the federal legislature, it will also, federal judges, it will affect the state judges, and to a very great extent, to whom much is given, much is expected. And with the new package now, I think the Chief Justice of Nigeria will be receiving like as much as 5.3, and the other justices of the Supreme Court will be maybe 4.2, and so on and so forth.
Million naira a month.
A month, you understand? But when you look at it, in the past, I think the cumulative salary of some High Court justices or judges is about is less than 5 million naira per annum. The cumulative, in the basic salary for a year, it's less than 5 million. And when you look at it very well, compared to other arms of government like the executive, like the legislators, what they collect, their take home, you can't compare it with these people that are doing a very good job.
Indeed. In fact, just reading from it here now, Jide, based on the provisions of the bill, judges are to get over 800% salary pay rise, as the Chief Judge of Nigeria is to earn 64.6 million naira annual basic salary and allowances, far higher than what is currently being. So it's a substantial move, and all of this, and in the people who have been speaking on it at the public hearing, a one-day public hearing that was organized by the Senate on this matter, ranging from the Attorney General to all sorts of concerned bodies. Everybody has been speaking very favorably on this matter.
Fantastic. And when you look at the human resource management angle, see, compensation is expected to drive productivity. And in the case we are discussing now, the justices are expected to come up with speedy attention to the matters before them and to roll out credible decisions which will be trusted by the people, because one of the reasons given for reviewing these salaries and benefits is the fact that at the time it was fixed in 2007, the exchange rate at that time was about 130 naira 0.25. And if you look at what they were earning then, reportedly, it's about 5,000 naira. And if you leave it at that with the current exchange rate, it's just about $441. About $5,000 for the benchmark in dollars. So really, times have overtaken circumstances, inflation, the economic situation has overtaken that remuneration. And not just in the judicial sector of our national life, but generally speaking. And by and large, in human resource management, when you review compensation, it engenders productivity. And having said that, we still have a lot to do with the macro environment, because this is an executive bill before the National Assembly, and arguments have been put forward why it should be appropriated. And when it is appropriated, we also need to ask the question, how will the government fund it? Because I know right now as we speak, and economically so, the total indebtedness of Nigeria is it's almost 100 trillion, you see. So I will also be advising that as we are working on increasing these salaries and benefits, we should also work on stabilizing the economy and reinventing the economy to be supportive to all. Because in the words of the Chief Justice of the Federation, represented by the Chief Judge of Borno State, the judicial officers now, their compensation is like someone in the intensive care unit. And that you don't start physiotherapy in intensive care units. You first stabilize and move to the general ward before you start physiotherapy. So, and that also, that ICU attention is needed in other areas of our national life if we are going to have a comprehensive productivity.
Okay, thank you very much, Jide, for landing there, because I was going to actually come there. And by the way, since I did mention that in the case of the Chief Justice, the proposal is in the region of 64 million naira, 64.6 million naira annually. For other justices of the Supreme Court, they will be earning a basic, an annual basic salary and regular allowances of over 60 million naira. Now, as we are saying, the development has received, much attention. Nigeria landed at a place that it was inescapable, but that we were going to touch there, because some of those excellent reasons that have been advanced. Last time this was looked at was 2017.
2007.
I beg your pardon, 2007.
17 years ago.
17 years ago, 2007. I can just imagine a lot of workers out there listening to this and saying, okay, thank you very much for that frame. Can I tell you the last time that we were also, reviewed? And so Jide brings up the question of how this is going to be funded. But before we touch on that, let's touch on the reason, the main reason for this, in my opinion. There might be other ones. Yes, in the first place, they do an onerous job. Yeah. That's the first thing. It's a highly skilled job. And on top of it being highly skilled, the weight of it, it's not because it is highly skilled, okay, so we allow you to do it for 2 hours a day and go back home so that you come back refreshed tomorrow. It's not like that. Right. From everything we hear, they are almost working round the clock. In addition to addressing that particular concern, there also is the thought that this is going to take corruption down maximally. Let me just put that forward as a proposal, that with this kind of an addressing of the issue, we can expect, the Nigerian public can expect that the rate of corruption in the judiciary will go down by the simple analogy of, now you have the money, you don't need to be corrupt to get it.
Yeah,
Does it work like that?
Yeah, yes, of course, to a very large extent, just like my learned friend has said, he has given us the answer completely. That when you talk about increment in salary, remuneration, you understand, it means appreciation of your employee. And to whom much is given, like I said before, much is expected. If you are being paid well, you will think twice before you'll be able to do any untoward thing. However, he has also mentioned something that, oh, how would they be able to fund it? Yes, good point, and it's worthy to be of something to be worried about. However, it's not the money to pay it is not the problem. Once it's appropriated in the budget, because I don't think it's in the budget earlier presented, but once it's appropriated, the Nigerian government can. And I'm going to cite an example. We don't usually know what the National Assembly earned, but Senator Shehu Sani openly said that, yes, well, people are just shouting, we collect 50 million, we collect 40 million, that the money is not as much as that. Our basic salary is 13 million naira monthly. Mm-hmm. And House of Reps, there is 8 million monthly. Now, if they can fund that one, mm-hmm, tell me, and those people look at how many people, they still have SLAs, they have so many other officers, PASA, press secretary, and government is funding it. We have the SA to the president, we have to the minister. If they can fund this, I think it is not too much a burden for them to do this of the judiciary. Like my learned friend has said, as of 2007, I think $1 is about 140. It's about $100 will give you like 13,000 or 15,000 max. You understand? But today, $100 will give you 150,000 naira or thereabout. So it's a lot. Mm-hmm. If we use dollar to measure it, this money is even a partition. I could remember the movement for this did not start today. This started yesterday. I remember one of the Western states Attorney General, I think Mr. Wale Fokunda, started this movement, and he was pushing that the judges should be earning enough money. And I think we're almost getting there, because to be a judge is not an easy job. Apart from those onerous duties you have mentioned, they are a kind of recluse. They can't grant interview, they can't socialize, they can't go to party, they can't make friends, and so on and so forth. So somebody is denying himself all of this. Yeah. And you want him to, with those money you are paying, I don't think it is fair. Mm.
Okay, and you know, in addition to that to whom much is expected, maybe much should be given. Yes. Maybe we can adjust it, yes, in that sort of way. And well, it's past the second reading. I think that it still has to go for a third reading, if I'm not mistaken. It still has to go for a third reading. Now, this whole process was started in the previous administration, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. That's when all of this was started. It so happens that, well, Tinubu has put it at the very top of his agenda, and so it has moved this fast. And if there is no delay, all of this, it should be over. You were talking about, you know, budgeting for it and all of that, and he is also, you know, optimistic that I don't really, you know, it's a tidy sum. It will be a tidy sum, but it shouldn't be a problem at all. In fact, how can it be a problem? So we would now increase the salaries and emoluments of all those judicial officers, and then somebody will say, but please hold on the old one for now. We owe you. No, it's not going to happen like that. No. We are going to find a way, one way or another. Now, I suppose the part that needs to be spoken a bit about is the expectation that this will now result, as many senior advocates have commented, in a corresponding reduction in the vexatious incidents of corruption in the whole system. Justice delayed, or justice, in short, let me just, don't bother about my starting off with justice. The worst thing, a very painful thing that can happen is for justice to be denied for whatever reason. It's not a matter of it being delayed now. And I guess when there are corrupt processes and corrupt rulings and corrupt decisions, justice would have been compromised. So it's a very important aspect of it. How optimistic are you in this regard? Because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And I think we were speaking casually about this off air, and we were also leaning into the fact that, look, it depends really on the makeup of a person. But then I would have thought that the kind of person that emerges as a judge, his makeup, the system would have been such that no Jagoda is going to end up as a judge, ordinarily speaking.
You know, talking about that, we need a systemic redefinition of our governance operations. and permit me to explain that. If a man earns ₦1 billion per minute, he is disposed to corruption, he will be corrupt. So it's not really about how much the person is paid. So it's about the system we run.
Yes, sir. But I also said, sir, that, and I would like a commentary on that. I also said that by the very nature of certain things, certain positions, a man that is a shepherd, that is a pastor, for instance, you don't want to think about certain things relating to that person.
Just
He's not
like
going to pass through the system.
Uncle Yori, just like one would have thought that with all the provisions made to former head of state, Sonny Abacha, that he would have left our resources intact for Nigeria to be developed.
Because it's what we know.
As the presiding officer, you are totally taken care of from the national resources. That's why I'm saying corruption is innate. So we need a system now that is beyond using remuneration to secure righteousness. Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999 as amended, says clearly that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. I don't think Betty Edu started stealing the resources of the nation, allegedly.
And thank you, sir.
Because I was not earning enough. But what has the system done
that particular
to arraign her? So these are issues.
But you are the lawyer, sir. So I know I'm not the person to be talking to you about this. But when you made that sentence,
he has qualified it with alleged.
Alleged, yes. And obviously, we talk a prima facie case.
Do we know that that is what she did allegedly?
Something critical here.
Okay.
If we want to fight corruption, let's fight corruption. I respect the justices. I've seen them work. They are wonderful. But when we isolate corruption as a symptom, let's look at the challenge we had in the Supreme Court, even before having the full complement of justices. There were allegations by the justices themselves against the Chief Justice of the Federation.
Yes.
We read about it. You see, so will you say he was not well?
And these things ought not so to be.
That's why I'm talking about system.
Could
that have happened in Singapore? Could that have happened in China? Could that have happened in Rwanda? Let me come to Africa. Or Mauritius. Or Botswana. You see, these are issues. So I appreciate what the government is doing. You know, but I am tempted to feel that it may end up being palliative in nature. Just like the same way we say, oh, we're going to tame the dollar by pumping more money. But you have not been able to tame the dollar until you empower the system to be productive. And speaking for the justices now, we have been to court that there is no electricity.
Yes.
That is a systemic issue. So that is a governance deficiency imposed hardship. And the International Labour Organization projects that you make the work environment conducive. So there are several issues. Even let's come back to the economy. If my honorable justice earns 64 million naira per month, they have friends, they go to church, and he's the chairman of building committee. There are several people who want to pay their rent. There are people who cannot pay school fees of children. So it boils down to the macro economy that we have. In those days that we made reference to, people could, civil servants could pay the school fees of their children, they could live, they could access their pension and things like that. But times have changed. And the biggest problem of this country right now is mismanagement of our resources, misplaced priority. So let's also bring this in. And finally, on this line of discussion, Uncle Yori, now, if the market woman hears that the remuneration of justices have been increased by 300%, will she identify me whether I'm one of them or not?
800.
When I come to 800% or whatever, when I come to the marketplace. So it triggers additional inflationary pressure on the economy. Just like the removal of the fuel subsidy brought in more revenue, but increased the inflation in the marketplace. Yes. I also listened to some of the presentations on this matter we are discussing. And somebody said, when you talk about deprived justice, it's not really about the judiciary. It's about the citizens. So we are also looking at the impact on the citizens. If you ask me, I will say pay the justices 64 million naira per month. If the nation can afford it. Right, because don't let us shy away from this argument. We have borrowed so much.
This proposal, it's only one, the Chief Justice. It's only one. The other ones are in the region of 60 million.
I'm saying
60 million.
that if you ask me,
okay,
in a buoyant economy, they should be earning like 64 million per month.
Okay.
Can you say our economy is buoyant now? And we cannot shy away from this syndrome of borrowing. No.
Thank you, sir. You are the kind of person the Nigeria Labour Congress is looking for to be on their team when they want to do these negotiations. Because, as you know, they have put forward a proposal that they think is meaningful. And I was going to say that we are aware, of course, that the NLC is keeping an eye on this discussion, or is keeping a very keen ear on all of these discussions, and are looking at all the rationales, and are looking at those of them, which of them actually fit their case as well. But Jide brought a very important, in my opinion, aspect to this whole thing when he asked a series of rhetorical questions. Let me just take one example he mentioned. Can this happen in Singapore? Can that happen in Singapore?
Yes, I was about to ask.
You know,
I was
because
jumping the gun and answering.
Yes,
it can happen in Singapore. However, it shall be dealt with immediately. In China, if you embezzle public funds, it's a public execution. You understand? But in Nigeria,
jump out of a 20-floor window.
Do you get it? Exactly, because you know the system is working. We are not in shortage of laws in Nigeria. We are not in shortage of a good legislation. We are not in shortage of good people that can man certain agencies. But the political will to wield the hammer,
the big stick,
the big stick, and ensure that proper things are done properly.
And these are the issues. Zero tolerance for corruption.
For corruption.
Do you understand? Singapore, he said, come back to Africa. Like Rwanda.
Yes.
You do rubbish.
If you try it, you will not go scot-free. That is what we are saying. So the system, you have a punitive system that does not allow corruption, that does not allow criminality to escape. But in Nigeria, we play around it sometimes until we stop the culture of he is a thief but he's our thief, leave him for us. Nigeria may not go forward. If somebody, if it's my brother, if it's my sister, if it's anybody, my kinsman, he has committed an offense, I must be ready. Like in those days,
that's not the society
they will push him out.
That's not the society.
Yeah, that's not the society we are now. In those days, in the days of our father when we were growing up, in fact, those public executions, they will say anybody that steals, this is how they kill him. That has a kind of impact on our thinking. And again, when Yoruba will say, you see somebody who is not a launderer and is bringing in cloth, and you have seen a thief, you have not shouted.
Exactly.
People will not allow you. Your father will not allow you. Nobody will allow somebody with a dirty character or that is immoral to live in the society. But today, if they give you a political appointment and you have gone and come back, you didn't have a palatial lodge in your town. Next time when opportunity comes, they will not allow you. So we are our problem ourselves. So it is from you to me, it is from us to the society. So people must be serious and know that we want good. We are talking about good leadership. We also need good followership.
So the society, these judges are part of the society. We ourselves, we are the society. It is in the interaction. Jide, gave a number of illustrations, and he compared the attitudes of our people. Once they think they know you, of course, everybody is going to come to your doormat, not being able to pay my school fees, not being able to fix my medical bills, and so on and so forth. And sometimes the pressure can be such that it could neutralize whatever is the benefit that you think we have. But all of those ones are still just talk. It has been said that there's a lot to be said for those who will hold even their own to account where they step out of line. It is unfortunate that most people will agree with that. That's not our style. There will be a whole flurry of activity towards the old boy network. As much as can possibly, everything shall be done to assist our own, whatever that is. Might be a member of your society, a member of your club, member of your whatever. And we still, and I like where Jide took it to, either Rwanda, take your choice if you want Africa, or go to Singapore. Just look at those two, and there they seem to have established in the societal consciousness that you can't do this. It doesn't matter who you are. You cannot do this. Maybe it's because the society has gone through a lot. And so it seems self-explanatory to most people that, no, we can't go back to those days. Is it because, relatively speaking, we haven't gone through the crucible of fire?
Every society that is prosperous today went through a lot.
Yeah, that is
America was colonized at a time. You know, they've been through their dips. But as you go through a lot in life, you grow through that lot and develop.
Let me pick up that theme when we come back from this break, sir.